Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're counting down our picks for the 10 most disappointing video game DLCs.
So you made it back, both of you.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Horse Armor, The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion.
Snock Grabura, owner and proprietor. We board horses and, well, we don't actually sell horses. Anymore, that is.
Apart from being one of the most infamous pieces of DLC ever, the Horse Armor was also the progenitor for disappointing ludicrous DLC. Sure, nowadays, the thought of paying a few bucks for cosmetic goodies is normal, albeit annoying. However, Oblivion's Horse Armor was the exception, not the rule, back in 2006. If you wanted your trusty steeds to look a bit more bougie, then you had to cough up a few dollars of your hard-earned cash. Your horses could be decked out in either steel or dwarven armor for that extra fanciness and an extra boost of protection as you wander around Cyrodiil. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go buy that $20 Fortnite skin.
What can I interest you in? I can't afford to do that.
My first pet stuff, The Sims 4. Do you want some DLC for your DLC? Well, if that sounds like you, then get your wallet ready because The Sims 4's My First Pet Stuff DLC is ready to loot you of $10. Now, the average player might assume that the Cats and Dogs expansion, sold separately, would kindly include the content of the My First Pet Stuff DLC. However, think again, this is EA we are talking about after all. If you wanted to get your grubby mitts on some new pets and some extra crap for your pets, then My First Pet Stuff truly has it all. The thought of buying this extra DLC in addition to the expansion, in addition to the base game, is truly greedy. Thanks EA, I didn't want that money anyway.
Meet Jay and Kira. These newlyweds are ready for their first furry companion.
Lost on Mars, Far Cry 5.
It worked, see? Nick, this is Ann. Ann, meet my bro Nick.
Hi?
Far Cry 5's Lost on Mars DLC isn't disappointing in the way many other DLCs on this list are. This is one of those DLCs that just doesn't live up to its predecessors, namely Far Cry 3's Blood Dragon expansion. Now, it could be unfair to compare the two, however, it's hard not to do so given the sci-fi similarities. Lost on Mars sees Nick, Rye, and Herc battle it out against some menacing alien spiders on Mars. Now, it's an intriguing enough premise, but the overall package just fails to deliver on the exploration, action, or humor. The new Mars open world area is just too small for its own good, and there isn't enough to see and do to justify a purchase, again, especially compared to the off-the-wall behemoth that was Blood Dragon. You'll have a bit of fun with the new alien weapons and the robot for hire pal, but it's all just too shallow overall.
Looks like the Queen can't follow me down here. Man, that was close.
Frame Data, Tekken 7. The fighting game genre often feels impenetrable, given the high skill ceiling and intense fan bases for many of its games. One area where rabid fighting games fans can hone their skill is through the use of frame data. Frame data helps players to know what advantage or disadvantage they have after utilizing a particular movement, combo, attack, or ability in regards to hits and blocks. It's a tactic players can use to learn their given fighter and thus gain the upper edge in battle. So you might assume, surely any fighting game would simply include this frame data free, right? Well, in the case of Tekken 7, it has to be purchased as DLC, much to the annoyance and aggravation of fans. I mean, come on Bandai Namco, this is a low blow indeed. Peril of Gorgon, The Outer Worlds. Much like Far Cry 5's Lost on Mars DLC, The Outer Worlds' Peril of Gorgon DLC is lacking in almost every area, especially considering how robust the main game is. Peril of Gorgon thrusts players onto the planet of Gorgon in hopes of solving a mysterious conundrum. While Gorgon is a somewhat unique place to check out, at least for a little while, it quickly becomes apparent that this DLC feels underbaked, underwhelming, generic, and just downright disappointing. The characters aren't all that interesting, the story beats fall flat, and the new weapons, while interesting somewhat, don't hold a candle to the base game's weapons. Peril of Gorgon is a prime example of more of the same, and isn't worth the full price of admission.
This is the spot! Now keep your eyes peeled. The dead drop is at the foot of the alpaca, he said. And this is the alpaca.
Llama.
What was that?
It's a llama we're after, sir, not an alpaca. And this is neither.
Remine, Kingdom Hearts 3.
There are many possibilities. Perhaps he forgot where it's hidden. Or he's playing a prank.
Here's something that you don't typically hear Kingdom Hearts fans say. Yeah, this narrative definitely makes sense. Convoluted, messy, confusing, cryptic are all typically the words you actually hear when discussing this beloved RPG series. One would hope that when Kingdom Hearts 3 was receiving DLC, it would possibly help to add content that better explains the overall story. No, it didn't do that. We got Remine instead, a piece of story-based DLC that throws narrative sense right out of the window. Kingdom Hearts 3 is already a weaker entry in the series, and Remine didn't help here. For brevity's sake, Remine seeks to tell a parallel tale to the climax of Kingdom Hearts 3, where Sora hopes to rescue Kairi from the Keyblade graveyard. Remine just sort of feels unnecessary, leaving fans with more questions than answers.
Do you see? A heart is just pain.
Pain is being human, Xemnas.
All the DLC, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is a brilliant Dungeons & Dragons inspired spin-off of the Borderlands series. Taking cue from Borderlands' Tiny Tina, Wonderlands is a thoroughly enjoyable high fantasy romp through an over-the-top world where you must stop an evil dragon lord. It's a great experience that combines the loot-driven shenanigans and humor-infused madcaps of Borderlands with all the D&D goodness you could want. However, sadly, Wonderlands' DLC, yes, all of it, rolls a natural 1 on the D20. It's not that it's the worst DLC out there, it just pales in comparison to the base game, and ends up feeling incredibly disappointing and repetitive. Each one lacks the whimsy, charm, and humor of the base game, on top of feeling meager, with poorly designed areas, very few new enemies, and no new gameplay innovations to enchant you, with each episode more or less feeling the same as the last. Spread across multiple episodes such as Shattering Spectre Glass, Molten Mirrors, and Coiled Captors, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands' DLC are an easy miss. The Taken King, Destiny.
Something has drawn us here. I can feel it.
Guardian, I've asked Erismorn to monitor the channel.
I hear whispers in the dark.
Destiny giveth and Destiny taketh. The Taken King might just be the most on-the-nose description for DLC, given that it quite literally took away much-loved content from the base game, while adding in the new stuff. Now, it needs to be acknowledged that The Taken King is a truly fantastic piece of DLC in terms of lore and gameplay mechanics that help Destiny rise to the top. However, when all of the shiny new good things lock out content for those who simply want to continue to enjoy the base game, well, that's majorly disappointing to say the least. The Taken King locked out huge parts of the base game since it changed up the game's structure for the DLC. Things like the Nightfall missions, heroic strikes, and certain Crucible match types became inaccessible to those unable or unwilling to spend the extra coin for the Taken King. From Ashes, Mass Effect 3.
You were joking.
A bit, but at least you're catching on these days.
Everyone loves when important narrative-based content gets locked behind a paywall, right? That sounds like something players would definitely love. Well, EA are back at it again, surprise, surprise. Yes, we all know by now that Mass Effect 3's vanilla ending was lackluster and highly disappointing, especially for those who watched their Commander Shepard grow and augment over the previous two games. But come on, making players open their wallets just to get a better, quote-unquote, ending that conclusively wraps things up? Well, that's absurd on so many levels, but that's just what Mass Effect 3 did in the form of the From Ashes DLC.
Is there anything more you can tell us about the Crucible?
Only the stories we heard. They said our scientists were constructing a great machine that had the power to defeat the Reapers.
True ending, Asuras Wrath.
Is it over? Is it really all over?
I don't know.
Gosh, this one really hurts. While Asuras Wrath might not be a household game for many, the 2012 title was heralded for its overall enjoyable story, intense battles, and over-the-top set-piece moments. However, the packed-in ending to Asuras Wrath left things on a cliffhanger with the good old to-be-continued text. So if you actually wanted to get the intended true ending, then you needed to pay up or miss out. Greedy. It's the fact that players needed to purchase this DLC in order to get the full grasp of the game's narrative, even though it could have easily been included, that truly makes it and takes the disappointing cake here. Manipulating fans of your game to cough up more money just to get the true ending is nefarious indeed, and deeply disappointing.
I am the true God, the embodiment of the wheel of life, the spinner of all mantra.
So, do you agree with our picks for this list? What video game DLC did you find to be disappointing? Let us know down in the comments. Thank you for watching this video from MojoPlays. If you want to see more from us, then be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss our daily gaming videos.